And welcome to Community Voice. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, June 19th, and we are live streaming today's program with Tanner Health System on our WLBB Facebook page. So be sure to tune in. If you have any questions or comments for our guest today, Dr. Anil Dhople, radiation oncologist, medical director, and quality advisor at the Roy Richards Senior Cancer Center, you may do so. You can throw it in the chat there. Any questions, comments, or kudos, I'll be happy to read those out to Dr. Anil. Doctor, welcome back.
Good to be here.
Oh, might need to get that over to you. There you go.
Good to be here.
There we go.
Better?
Yeah, much better. It's such a pleasure. I think you said this might be your third time?
Third time. First time, I think I'd only been here for a few weeks. I think the second time was about maybe a year and a half ago. But you guys have always made it very easy and comfortable to talk to, so I'm glad you invited me back.
That's so sweet, man. I love that. That's beautiful. I mean, we've watched each other grow. I've watched you you grow into the settle into this awesome facility and do great things, and you've seen me gain weight. So this is great. I'm so pumped that we've had this time together.
Mutual growth.
Mutual growth. There you go. There you go. Awesome. So. Today, let's talk about some stuff that's going on here. I know that we were wanting to well, first, why don't we just talk about you? Tell us a bit about you and your background.
Sure.
Perhaps some of your credentials and a bit about your experience here in Carrollton thus far.
Sure. So I got into medicine in a very roundabout way. I ended up going to college, became an engineer, went to Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Kind of realized towards the end of college that being an engineer was not what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to face the reality of life. So I went to medical school, went to University of Florida. Sorry, I am a Gator. From there, I ended up finding radiation oncology as a career path in a very roundabout way. I thought I was just going to do radiology, reading images, sitting in a dark room, not interacting with patients. And as you can tell, I'm a little bit more personable than that and people person, and I like talking to people. And so radiology was not going to be my field. And I met through a radiologist, a radiation oncologist. And at University of Florida, it was a husband-wife team, Bill and Nancy Mendenhall. They're premier radiation oncologists, very famous. And they kind of convinced me and nurtured that idea of becoming a radiation oncologist. And I ended up going to University of Maryland for my residency. So back to Maryland for residency, and then I stayed there for a few years on faculty. And an opportunity came up in my hometown in Florida. So I went back there in Melbourne, Florida, practiced there for about 10 years, and realized that I wanted to take something to the next level. I wanted to be I wanted to have a practice where I could help grow. And it just so happened that 2020, as I started looking for a job, the global pandemic started. I did all my interviews via Zoom and met a lot of great people at the Tanner system, associates, medical staff. And there were little things, there are actually big things at Tanner that aren't done anywhere else. And one of those things is the Tanner 3-day program. So that really kind of made me realize that there was something special going on here in Carrollton that just really isn't done anywhere else.
That, I think that we often forget how, blessed we are to have such a state-of-the-art facility just like 2 miles that way. I mean, it's, almost any service or treatment you can imagine, you can find it here. I would love to maybe expand some on that. I want to jump into the 3-day promise. Before we do, just for folks who may not be aware, could you remind folks what oncology is?
Yeah, so oncology is a specialty of medicine that focuses on the treatment of cancers. There's really three mainstays in a patient's care who does have cancer. There'll be perhaps a surgeon involved. There'll be perhaps a medical oncologist, which is a type of doctor that specializes in the use of chemotherapy or more recently immunotherapy, using medicines that stimulate the body's immune system to treat cancer. And then the third facet of oncology is going to be radiation oncology, which is what I do. Radiation oncology is using radiation to actually damage the DNA of cancer cells, kill the cancer cells as they try to divide and to make a second cancer cell. And radiation therapy is typically what we considered a local treatment. It's focusing in on just what you know to be cancer, whereas chemotherapy and immunotherapy tend to be treating the whole body with a type of treatment.
So let's talk about the 3-day promise. This is something we've had a chance to sort of touch on in the past, so I'm glad that we have the chance to sort of flesh it out here. Let's talk about that. Let folks know at home what that's all about.
So in order to explain the 3-day promise, I have to explain what typically occurs outside of a 3-day promise. So typically, when a patient gets diagnosed with an abnormality, hey, we did a chest x-ray and you might have a lung mass, go see a lung doctor. Then the lung doctor says, yeah, you might have a lung mass, go get a CT scan. And then you get a CT scan, you wait for the results, you go back in and see the doctor. Oh, yeah, now we have to get a biopsy. Then you go wait for the biopsy. Okay, now you have a cancer diagnosis, we need to send you to a specialist. Then you see the specialist, an oncologist, who then says, we need a PET scan, we need a brain scan, we need to do all these other tests. That process is weeks.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Maybe even months. Now, a lot of places, the doctors recognize that this is a problem, right? In my old practice, we had the exact same problem, the exact same experience. By the time the patient got to us, there was already a level of frustration, anger, and a feeling of time wasted. So when I learned about the 3-day promise back in 2020, it was kind of mind-boggling that this was occurring here in Carrollton. So basically what the 3-day promise is saying is, look, we promise that within 3 days of your cancer diagnosis, we will have you sitting in front of an oncologist with treatment options. Now, they may not, I don't want it to sell it like it's a 3 days to treatment. It's 3 days to organizing your treatment options. And for instance, so the way it really works is we have patient navigators. They get called by it can be the ER, it can be a referring doctor. It says, hey, I got a patient who has a very high likelihood of having cancer based on a scan I have done. Please help streamline the workup. Those navigators will then come to an oncologist, either the medical oncologist or the radiation oncologist, ask us to kind of look through all what has been done so far and say, okay, yeah, this is a problem. We need to get this guy in or this patient in, but let's go ahead and order some extra scans, get those scheduled so that it takes place boom, boom, boom.
Let's expedite this process.
Let's expedite it so that really within 3 days, they're sitting in front of a cancer doctor who can start laying out the foundation of a treatment plan. I can tell you it's been life-saving for patients. I would probably guess that the ER is actually one of our biggest referrals because patients go in, they feel something wrong, right? It's like they're coughing, maybe they got shortness of breath, they get a CAT scan in the ER and they have a lung mass. And we know with lung cancer, time is of the essence. And so we get a lot of patients referred through the ER who can go through our 3-day program and arrive in front of a cancer doctor within 3 days of that first CT scan, and they're laid out all their treatment options. And I mean, it is unbelievable how fast patients go through that system. Some patients, they even say, wow, this is too fast.
Yeah, let's slow it down.
Can we slow it down?
Yeah.
And I think we get that more than getting complaints of, oh, this is taking too long.
But this is the flip. This is the flip that you would want in this. It's like, I would much rather you'd be needing us to slow down to provide the pace that's more comfortable for you.
Correct.
Than instead of you just left alone with your fear and left alone with your frustration.
And there, I would say most patients prefer to have things move along quickly, right? Most patients do recognize that there's an urgency to it. And some cancers deserve more urgency because we know the natural history, and lung cancer is one of them. It tends to be more fast. So we try to get that expedited as quickly as possible. So that 3-day promise really, I think, is talked about at a lot of places. My old place where I worked, we always would sit around as doctors and say, man, what is taking so long? I think the unique part about the Tanner program is there's an administration that works very closely with the physicians. where they've designed a process by which they all work together to streamline this to get it going faster. And I don't think it's easy to replicate that, because you have to have all the pieces in place. You have to have the right docs that are willing to kind of drop everything and look through charts. You got to have a strong navigator program. And the folks that work with us, I mean, they're not nurses or necessarily clinicians, but they save lives because they're the ones that are doing all the boot work, all the groundwork. And then you have to have an administration that recognizes the importance of this. I can't speak more highly of it.
The time is at 8:41. We're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. Shout out to those who are currently tuned into the program. Kate Lord, I see you watching. Sarah Bearden, thank you guys for tuning into the program today. Let us know if you have any questions or comments. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Anil Dhople, radiation oncologist, medical director, and quality advisor at the Roy Richards Senior Cancer Center, as we chat more about the current cancer center expansion, as well as Varian Hypersite and screenings and a lot more. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Oak Mountain Academy is an innovative school of academic excellence celebrating over 61 years. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to join us on the mountain to see our mission and vision in action. Academic excellence, a faith-based environment, and dynamic opportunities are just a few of the reasons our families choose Oak Mountain Academy. Academic scholarships and tuition assistance are available. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
And we're back to Community Voice. Time is 8:43. I'm your host, Josh Engel. Today is Wednesday, June 19th. And we are live streaming today's program with Dr. Anil Dhople, radiation oncologist, medical director, and quality advisor at the Roy Richards Senior Cancer Center with Tanner Health System. Feel free to, since we're live streaming the show, feel free to throw some comments or questions into the chat, and we'll jump right into them. Oh, we do have a quick question from Valerie King McLean. Perhaps, Doctor, you'd be able to speak to this. Does Tanner offer any naturopathic or alternative treatments?
We actually don't have a formal program with naturopathic or homeopathic treatments, but I think all the physicians are very open to that as part of the overall treatment paradigm. I personally am a believer. I think the much of our treatments in the form of chemotherapy has actually been born out of plant-based treatments. These are chemical compounds that are extracted from plants. So there is some logic to using naturopathic or homeopathic treatments as complementary treatments. But the direct question of do we have somebody within Tanner that is offering those, we actually don't. But Sure. We're very supportive of bringing them together, and if that's what a patient wants to do, I'm all for it.
I love how most physicians I speak with, they're like, "Hey, if it displays efficacy, we'll integrate it," and I think that's very cool. Like, I mean, open-mindedness to new things, but also not wanting to waste a patient's time if something doesn't have the background and the evidence to back it up.
Correct.
Well, thank you very much for that question. We appreciate that. All right, let's jump right back into it. A lot's been going on over with the Cancer Center. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about these significant changes.
Yeah, so, when I got here in 2020, I had told you I did all my interviews on Zoom, and I never really stepped foot into the building until I was ready to kind of sign my contract with Tanner. And they asked me to drive up. Hey, we really want you to drive up for this. So I drove up, and I looked at the address, and the building was an older building. It was built in the mid-late 80s, and it kind of had that entrance of a bank almost. It reminded me of a bank. But the reality is when you look back at how it was built and when it was built, it was probably a premier center when it was first built. And I learned the story of how it had gone through 2 additions because as the community grew, the needs grew. Tanner had invested more in the building with adding a second machine. But again, this building had been added onto so many different times, it didn't really look like a cancer center.
Didn't reflect the state of the art treatment which was being available inside. You know?
It didn't, and I remember talking to some of the Tanner administrators, and I said, "Hey, look, I guarantee you that we're going to start doing things with the technology that you already have here. We're going to start doing some new things like deep inspiration breath hold for the treatment of left-sided breast cancer, and we're going to start improving quality and offering services that haven't been offered before, and we're going to need a new building." It was just kind of one straight sentence. We're going to add new technologies. We're going to do this, and we need a new building. And I think Tanner had been batting around that idea for a few years. And I think there's just a moment of time where everything lined up. I was here. Dr. Sanders got recruited, my partner. Both of us were committed to advancing cancer care with radiation. We have a team of people who are in place in this cancer center who were also aligned with the mission of let's go forward with a new cancer center. So if you really think about it, it takes a lot of people to all be aligned and all have the same goal that we're going to go through 2 years of real hardship. And the hardship is on us, but it's also on the patients. Patients have to go through treatment in a construction zone. We batted around the idea of like closing everything and putting temporary treatment machines in a parking lot and build a completely new building. And we realized that just wasn't going to work. And so we ultimately ended up deciding to take the entire building down to the concrete vaults. The machines sit in 6 feet of concrete. So we took the entire building down to just the concrete vaults, and we built a small alcove for the radiation therapist and our physicists so that they had a protected roof over their head. And then that started October 31st, 2022, Halloween. And we built around it. We built an entire 22,000 square foot building completely around the concrete vaults. I'll be honest, the community and the patients and their families, they're the ones that deserve the biggest thanks. I'm grateful to my team. I'm grateful to the Tanner administration, but I am most grateful to the patients because those folks that had to go through treatment during a construction project, they didn't get to benefit from this new building. So we're grateful to them. We then, as the building started to take shape, it took about 18 months. And the final phase of that project was to take out an older machine. It's still a good workhorse machine, but it wasn't allowing us to do some of the things we wanted to do. So we needed to decommission that machine and install a new machine. And that's the latest generation of a true beam linear accelerator from Varian. And on that machine, we actually have some new technology called HyperSight. The interesting thing about HyperSight is it is a new form of imaging that allows us to see more clearly in real time what the cancer is looking like, whether it's responding, do we need to make some tweaks, some changes. I'm very proud of this. We are the first community-based, non-academic center in the entire United States that has HyperSight technology on a true beam linear accelerator. We are the first in the entire Southeast. So there's no academic center in the entire Southeast that has this technology.
Whoa.
So they don't have it in Atlanta. They don't have it in Birmingham. They don't have it in Noonan. We are the first in the entire Southeast. And that to me is a major commitment that Tanner has to elevating cancer care for the patients here in the community.
Absolutely. I mean, and plus that peace of mind that accompanies knowing that this is something that, you're in the right place. this is something that you're not going to find in Emory. You're not going to find it in any of these other hospitals. This is something right here, not whether academic or a private hospital. I mean, this is something that we have now, and we're so lucky to have it.
Yeah, and I think, you will start seeing this hypersite technology on true beams that are coming off the production line. These machines are manufactured in Palo Alto, California. I had the opportunity to go visit the assembly line and see our machine getting built with Loy Howard and the rest of the administration, and to have it installed and then be able to say, look, we're thought leaders in this. And this community is going to benefit from it.
Before we take our last commercial break, got some more questions that have come in here. First, a comment from Terry Lowry. We love Terry. Dr. Dhople treated my father-in-law. Our experience was incredible. Carrollton is very lucky to have cancer doctors like Dr. Dhople and Dr. Larson.
Well, Terry's also great to have in the community to bring the arts to us, and I think it's great.
Absolutely. We do have a question from a listener, Catherine Lord Youngbauer. Question: the 3-day promise system does sound incredibly streamlined. I agree with you. Why has this taken so long to go into effect? But my question is, the 3-day promise revered/followed throughout our American medical system? Is the promise followed throughout the medical system? I.e., say the patient didn't want to start their treatment after the 3-day promise diagnosis at Tanner. Would the specialist be able to refer them to another hospital and that hospital pick up and start treatment? Or would that patient have to go through the multiple step process you mentioned before speaking about the 3-day promise?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the beauty of Tanner is we are a small independent system, and so we can move a little bit more nimbly than the bigger systems. We have great connections at other hospitals when we feel like we don't have the right treatment for a patient, or if there is a type of cancer that perhaps the expertise of an academic center is beneficial. We have great connections. Pick up the phone, call them, and they can usually help get our patients in when needed. What's interesting, though, is a lot of times when patients get a diagnosis of cancer, first thing a family member might tell them, you got to go to the big city, you got to go to an academic center. And the funny thing is that I find is our Tanner 3-day promise is so efficient that we actually are ready to go and have treatment for a patient before the patient even gets their second opinion consult at an academic center. This is something I actually looked into, and it was an area of just research that I wanted to look into. And there's actually something called time to treatment initiation, TTI. What is the time to treatment initiation? Any treatment, what is the time? The shorter you make that, the better the outcomes for every cancer. It doesn't mean everything has to take place in 3 days or 1 week, but if you can shorten the length of time it takes from diagnosis to the initiation of treatment, that is an independent prognostic feature for outcomes, longer survival. And one of the negative influence on time to treatment initiation is treatment at an academic center and treatment in an urban setting. So that's not faulting academic centers or urban centers. It's just that they're so big. Yeah. It's harder to navigate. It might be harder to get in. And so they may also be dealing with patients with more advanced stage cancers, right? So, but your general community practice and in a rural setting actually has a shorter time to treatment initiation. Now, what it takes is a group of people, right? Everybody has to be aligned. The docs have to be aligned, the staff and the administration, everybody has to be aligned to improve that time to treatment initiation. But it's an independent prognostic factor.
Great question, Kalo. Appreciate that. We're going to go and take our last commercial break. But when we come back, we will wrap up our conversation with Dr. Anil Dhople, radiation oncologist and medical director and quality advisor at the Roy Richards Senior Cancer Center with Tanner Medical Center right after these messages. Stay with us.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
The AP Scholar Journey at Oak Mountain Academy is designed to provide students with a clearly defined advanced placement curriculum track to earn a series of distinctions upon graduation. This journey enables academically prepared students to pursue college-level studies throughout 17 AP courses in 5 subject categories while enrolled at OMA. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
And we're back to Community Voice. Today's Wednesday, June 19th. If you're just tuning in, be sure to check out the podcast of this episode, which will be uploaded to the station's website, as well as gradicommunications.com, or the live stream, which is currently going down on the WLBB Facebook page. You have any last-minute questions or comments, hop in there as we continue to chat with Dr. Anil Dhople, radiation oncologist, medical director and quality advisor at the Roy Richard Senior Cancer Center, and the 2023 Coolest Doctor Award. He won it. He won it, with no challenge. It was crazy. Always love having Dr. Dhople on the show. All right, so in the time we have left, chat with us a bit about screenings.
Yeah, so screening is basically trying to look at a group of people in the population that have no signs, no symptoms of cancer, but we know that if we look for signs of cancer, we have a test that can diagnose a cancer at the earliest stage, then it has better cure rates. So a good screening test has to be able to detect the cancer with a high level of specificity, not lead to false positives, and by initiating treatment at an earlier stage, improve outcomes. And so breast cancer screening is probably the best one to give as an example, right? So women get a mammogram, they don't have a lump, they feel nothing. You find a small lesion in the breast, it gets biopsied, it's cancerous, it's removed. Maybe they need a little bit of extra treatment in the form of some short course radiation. Maybe they need to take a small endocrine pill, a hormone type pill for a few years, and they're done and they're cured and it's in the rearview mirror. That's the benefit of screening. Colon cancer. Get your colonoscopy, right? So colon cancer is a silent killer. So by putting a population of people through their colonoscopy, you will identify precancerous polyps, things that are destined to become cancer, but if you find them early, they're precancerous. A simple polypectomy, they remove it at the same time. It's not surgery. They removed it, done. They've been cured of a precancerous lesion. So we have a very strong screening process. We do prostate cancer screening for the community. We have screening mammogram units all over Northwest Georgia. A few years ago, we actually initiated a direct to consumer, so to speak, colonoscopy, where you call, you say, I'd like to get my colonoscopy. We have nurse practitioners that will screen the patient's chart and say, yeah, you don't have any contraindications. Let's get you on the schedule. You don't have to necessarily go get a referral, see another doctor, get a consultation. It's very streamlined. All of these screening tests are available right here in the community and very expeditiously can be scheduled. If you want to know more about all of these different screening programs or anything that we talked about today, you can go to tannercancercare.org. And there's going to be links to all of these things that we've kind of talked about today. That's tannercancercare.org.
Thank you so much for this great information. I think the comment section speaks to the importance of this show. Thank you very much for that. Again, you want to learn more or meet the coolest doctor on the block, check out tannercancercenter.org, or you can also call 770-812-9824. Dr. Dhople, thank you, sir.
Awesome. Thanks for having me again.
And everyone tuning in at home, we'll see you next time.